artificial intelligence. Some say it will save the world. Others say it will take all our jobs. There is a truth in between. Let's speak about it. AI without the PhD, because somebody has to translate this stuff.
Hi, welcome everyone. A new episode of AI without the PhD, because somebody has to translate this stuff. Last episode we spoke about AI agents and what they are capable of, and I really tried my best to keep this episode very positive, because I don't want to come along like the guy who comes here and rant about stuff and everything that's new, because I truly believe in that. I do a lot of work in that field for a long time, so I know the ups and downs. But I really want to keep it honest, and I said someone need to translate this stuff. So I also want to speak about the downsides. So don't get me wrong. And if this is the first episode, please check the last episode where I spoke about the upsides. So today is about the limit of AI agent and why your AI employee most probably need an adult supervisor. So we spoke about last time we spoke about what AI agents are. So the good news was they are technically just a LLM, some tools, some memory, and an objective goal. So there's nothing mysterious in there. Is nothing Mission Impossible, Johnny English, or James Bond style. It's a pretty simple principle with 4 ingredients, and if you have those 4 ingredients together, you can start building your agent. So therefore, it's not impressive if someone advertise that they build it in 1 or 2 hours. If you are sufficient, if you are trained, if you have some experience, it's pretty doable. And the biggest challenge is not to automate everything and to put the right guardrails in, as I explained in the last episode. So today I want to speak a bit about why, if it's that easy, why so many agent or AI projects fail, as I had in the episode about the graveyard of AI projects. So goals are harder than they sound. People love simple statements, and I totally get it because simple statements are easy to explain. That's in the nature of things, but yeah, reduce customer churn was the example I had in the last one, where I said if it would be that easy, no one would churn customers. Also, I spoke to some guys and said, yeah, my goal is to optimize sales. Well, congratulations. It's a pretty genius move that you want to optimize your sales. Nobody came to that idea before, and this is why it's a pretty good objective to give that to an AI agent. Also, set things like improve customer experience. So that are not instructions. That are not defined goals. That is an inspiration. That's a thought. That's an idea. But this is nothing you can give to an agent. A human would fill those gaps automatically. So if I go to an experienced sales lead and say, hey, I want to optimize my sales, this guy will find a way to do so. This is why they get paid the big bucks, and this is why they make the money they make. But this is nothing an AI agent would do because they can't fill the gaps. So imagine telling your employee, reduce the cost, and then just go in the office, say, guys, reduce cost, and then leave. Imagine what will happen in the office. So without further guidance, they may buy cheaper coffee. Maybe they cancel some important subscriptions. They think, well, we can do it without. Maybe they fire half of the company for the sake of reducing costs, or they just turning off the heater in the winter. So there are a lot of options to solve this thing. And imagine what would happen in your office if you just do that. So technically, all of those actions would reduce the costs and all would fulfill the goal. But on the long term, this would be an issue. So maybe buy cheaper coffee is not reducing as much as you expected. Maybe firing half of the company will lead you to a company where nobody can work because the important people left. So the same problem exists with AI agents. The goal matters, and defining the goal is the most tricky part of an AI project. And when you build an agent, so if someone says I can build it in 2 hours, they're completely right. But finding the right definition of a goal will maybe take you a week or 2. And you need to be prepared for that. And even more than the goal, matters the boundaries. So the boundaries is that what even matter more. We come to that later. Let me speak a bit about the missing context problem, because this is also something you have to keep in mind. Humans operate on a tremendous amount of invisible knowledge. So every human comes to work, brings a tremendous amount of invisible knowledge. They understand office politics. They understand your company culture. They understand customer relationship. They understand historical decisions that were made in the company for the last decade or 2 decades. And they know the unwritten rules. So there are things that are not written on a piece of paper, but things you just don't do. And I don't want to bring examples because otherwise maybe the video get censored or whatever. But we all know these unwritten rules. Unfortunately, your AI agent doesn't know that. And this is a problem you have to keep in mind. An AI can know everything that is in your database, that is in your knowledge base, that is in your wiki, in your emails, in your documents. But there is a lot of stuff that is not written down, and keep that in mind. So there's maybe a decision that you don't want to contract a certain supplier anymore because 3 years ago they sent you some broken items and refused to be responsible. Or you have a supplier that raised prices in between the contract and the delivery, and you had a month-long argument with them, and you just don't want to do business with them anymore, but you can't write it down out of certain reasons. Or you forgot to write it down, it's just in your head. So your agent is not aware of that. And this information is not in a database, in an API or whatever, so you need to get it somehow in there and set the guardrails. Also, we have the confidence problem. So humans are surprisingly good in admitting confusion, at least sometimes. An experienced employee would may say, "Oh, I can't do it. I need more information," or "Can someone clarify that for me?" If you have a experienced developer and a product owner comes with a request, with feature request, the experienced developer will ask questions. The AI don't do that because it just get instruction set and start to work on it. The same counts for if I take back my idea about the travel agents saying, book me a holiday on Madeira Island for under 1,500 euros. So I have some opinions about some airlines. I don't want to fly them. So the agent is not aware of that. I had an issue with an airline because I'm aware that some airlines are more on time than others. The agent is maybe not aware of that. And this is an experienced personal assistant would ask me those questions. It would ask me, do you want to fly early morning or late evening? I prefer the early morning flights because if there is a delay, it accumulates over the day. Experienced personal assistant would ask me, the person would ask me. The agent maybe don't ask me. So this is the thing where it is a different handling between confusion. AI systems do the opposite. They continue with confidence because they are not aware that something is missing. And if there are gaps, they make assumptions. And those assumptions accumulating up there. And whenever you leave something blank, they will fill the blank because they get a goal and they are built and designed to reach the goal, to fulfill the objective. And this creates problems that don't exist when you work with people. And so maybe it rebooks a flight for you because it sees that there's a connection flight somewhere between, and the flight it chooses for my Madeira holiday, it comes with a short connection to an already booked flight. A system would ask me, agent may picks up the flight and rebook the onward journey, which would be horrible if I have a follow-on meeting there. Because I left a blank, I didn't told the agent what to do. It comes to a problem and it will continue with confidence and solve the problem, no matter what happened. So it may approve also invoices or whatever. So if there is a context issue with confidence, and if there is a gap, be prepared, an agent will solve it. Maybe not in not the way you would like to have it solved. Also, there is a cost problem. People imagine that the army of AI workers are working for free. The reality is more complicated. Every action costs something, and searching documents costs something, calling APIs costs something, running the LLM model costs something in token. Verifying the results is cost money, and doing the retries if the agent got stuck, revert and start from a certain checkpoint to find a better way, this will cost money. And a badly designed agent can become the digital equivalent of an employee that schedules 3 meetings to decide what's the lunch for today. So be careful when you implement them, especially when you follow those 2-hour classes or whatever. You need to be aware you burn tokens, you have costs on API calls, you have cost on compute, you have cost on memory. And if you do it in a poor way, it will really blow up your invoice. And so technically, you may build a very active agent for a very questionable economic, on a very questionable economic base. This brings us to one of the least exciting but most important concepts, the human in the loop. And I work now with AI and ML for the last 15 years. Yeah, it should be 15 years. I can't remember exactly. Maybe 16. I don't want to think about this now, but a concept that pulls is a continuously thing is human supervision. And the dream is often you give complete autonomy to an agent. The agent will replace 4 employees. You can run your multi-million, billion, trillion, gazillion dollar business without any humans, just with a fleet of AI agents. They never sleep, they never tired, have never a bad day, they never on vacation. But at the end, this is not working. So the reality usually is reasonable autonomy with human checkpoints, because you don't want to have your onboard flight rebooked. You don't want to have a questionable supplier onboarded because this supplier was able to sneak through the AI. So if you want to think that further, airplanes are really a very forefront of automatization on the flight deck. So we have autopilots, and they can operate the full plane, but you still have 2 pilots in there, and the 2 pilots are always up and monitoring what's happening to oversteer the machine if things went off rails. And they still do certain operations manually because it's safer than doing them automatically. And it's an assistant. It reduces the workload on the flight deck. It helps them to stay focused during stressful situations with high density traffic, with a lot of ATC communication and whatever. So it helps them to offload work. But at the end, they are still monitoring it, and they are still checking if everything went as expected to oversteer it in the worst case. So the autopilot is flying the airplane brilliant, but yet we still have 2 pilots at least on the plane to run the operations. Not because the technology is useless, but because responsibility is ultimately tied to humans. And AI agents should be treated in the same way. So let me come to wrap up. Let me speak shortly quick about what AI agents are not. So there are a few misconceptions around AI agents, and let me clean up that a bit. So they are not digital employees, and whoever said that is either not prepared, not knowledgeable, or want to sell something to you in a very aggressive way, because an AI agent is not a digital employee, never ever. They are not autonomous executives. If they are, you have a problem. They are semi-autonomous within certain guardrails, as I explained in the previous episode, but they shouldn't have full autonomy. This will get you in a lot of troubles sooner than later, and you don't want to have that. Also, they are not business strategists. They can't be business strategists, because in business strategy, there is a lot of invisible knowledge involved. There's a lot of experience involved. There's a lot of undocumented stuff involved. And as I explained earlier in this episode, this is not the home turf of an AI agent, of an LLM. And they are no managers. They can't manage humans. Please, please don't try it. I saw people trying that and it went horrible off. So please don't try it. And they are not a replacement for an entire department. So I spoke to people, very brilliant people, and they came and said, hey, we replace all our social media department now with AI agent. They create the visuals, they create the content, they push everything on Instagram, TikTok, and whatever. This is not working. You can have your social media department assisted by AI. You can have it. You can have them using AI tools to generate better visuals, to maybe optimize the text, maybe to get different views on a text. I'm not a social media expert, so yeah, but you can't replace a full department. This is not working. So they are software systems, and they should make limited decisions in very clearly defined boundaries. And we don't need to pretend they are something bigger. They aren't, and they shouldn't. So this is a really, really big word of warning. All software engineers sometimes look at the current excitement and really same for me. So I smile and say, well, we've built that 2 decades before, when we start to build service-oriented architecture, when we start to build with the rule engines. There were whole systems that called APIs, that processed information, that made decisions, that triggered action. The difference now is that those decisions are more flexible. So when I started to write those rule engine things, and when I started to write those service-oriented architecture, the decision trees were pretty strict formulated. And now they are flexible. As explained in the previous episode, there is some freedom in choice, what tool they call, what path they go down. And this is fine within the guardrails. So it's not a complete big invention of computing or stuff like that. It's a well-known pattern with a lot more freedom. So yeah, let me wrap this up. So I think the question isn't, can AI replace a human? I think the much more practical question for your daily work is, what decisions are we comfortable to delegating to software? So some decisions are easy, and this should be delegated. Some require supervision. So you need to make sure that there is a human in the loop. And some should probably remain with humans for the foreseeable future, because the impact of a wrong decision or of an off-guard running agent would be very bad. So the biggest and the trickiest part is not to write the agent. The trickiest part is to decide on the goal, and if it is something that should be done by software. So knowing the difference will put you ahead of your competitors, because at the end, someone has still to explain auditors in your annual audit why Johnny English or James Bond approved an annual budget that is 3 times of the company revenue. And yeah, you don't want to do that. So there are good reasons to have humans in the loop to make sure that everything is compliant, and to limit the blast radius if something went off bound. So with that, I want to wrap up this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see what we do next time. Maybe we speak about or we can speak about Vertex, we can speak about what an LLM is. So I will figure something out and record the session for you. Till then, enjoy your time. See you.